Leveraging synergies to drive holistic alignment, we proactively catalyze scalable paradigms to optimize core competencies. By dynamically orchestrating cross functional initiatives, our agile methodologies empower seamless innovation pipelines. That's pretty good, right? That's what you came here for? No, of course not. But unfortunately, that's what a lot of these presentations end up sounding like. But this is not one of those kinds of presentations. Hi, my name is Eline. I'm from a Norwegian telco called Telenor, and today I'm going to take you through some cheat codes for building innovative product-oriented platform teams. Now, I come from a product area in Telenor known as cloud platforms, and we do a lot of very, very interesting stuff. We build multi-cloud with Google Cloud and Azure and everything. And unfortunately, I don't have time to get into any of that because I'm only with you here today for 15 minutes. But my role within all of this is as a product lead within this product area. So I have some experience in this field. But let's get into it. I'm going to share with you a bit of a question that's been weighing on my mind. There's plenty of platforms out there. There's Google Cloud, there's Azure, there's AWS. Why? Why would someone choose to use our platform, the Nova platform from Telenor, over Google Cloud or Azure or whatever? Well, the reason is we know our users best. We are talking to them every day, so that enables us to build a tailored experience for the users within Telenor. AWS, Google Cloud, they don't know our users. So what we are doing is we are not building a platform. We are building an experience. We are building developer experience. We are building user experience. And that means that we need to be talking to our users every day and work as a product. So let me share some cheat codes to get started. Now, what do I mean by cheat codes? I mean something that you can take back to your team tomorrow and get started with product thinking. Now, this isn't going to get you all the way to the finish line, but it's going to get you started moving towards becoming a product-oriented platform team. So, let's get into it. What are these cheat codes? The first thing which I would say is you need to have a couple of people within your team with product responsibilities. They don't have to be product leaders, but they have to have that responsibility. And at some point, these people also need to have that kind of skill set. So if you don't have those people in your team today, you need to go and either get new people or upskill the people within your team today. And to be fair, I did not start as a product leader. I'm a technical person. I started as a front-end engineer, ended up as a full-stack engineer, then a platform engineer. Now I'm a product lead. So people can become product leads if given the space to do so. But let's talk about what kinds of responsibilities are needed. So basically, you're going to need at least two kinds of people. I would say you need an outbound leader. You need someone who is out there talking to your users, someone who understands them, someone who works with users in order to research what their challenges are with the product. This is the kind of person who knows what needs to be prioritized. And then you need an inbound leader. This is like your tech lead, something like that. This is the person who knows what is and what isn't possible to build. This is the person who knows the technology. This is the person who is working with the software architecture. These two people together is the minimum that you need in order to get started with product thinking. So, what's the next cheat code? You need some kind of a structure. Because this is not a fire and forget situation. This is not a case where you go out and talk to your users and then you're now magically a product team. No, this is something that needs to happen again and again and again. This is a continuous thing. So, what I would advocate for is some kind of a rhythm. This is a good way to get started. Go out there, talk to your users, uh, do user interviews, do questionnaires, and take those inputs from your users as what you need to set your goals. So then you set your goals, and that's what you're going to be working towards. And then, very important, many people forget this, you need to be working on communication as well. So start by sending out newsletters, do presentations, do whatever you need to do in order to improve your communication strategy. Tell people about what you have done and what you're going to do. So what this could end up looking like is something like this. Say you start by setting some goals, you start by communicating, you get into a rhythm, a quarterly kind of rhythm, where every single month of the quarter has some kind of a focus. Now, ideally, you would want to do this even more frequently, but at least this is a way to get started. Because what you end up getting is basically something like a funnel. You get all these inputs. You get the organizational inputs, you get the user inputs, and you get the inputs from your team, like, do we need to be working on technical debt? All these inputs are taken into an OKR review, and you make some goals with this. Objectives, key results, OKRs. And you update your roadmap based on these inputs. This kind of a structure will help you in order to get started. So let's talk a little bit more about how you can get these kinds of inputs. Let's talk about gathering feedback. So what I would say is one of the very, very easiest way to get started with these kinds of inputs, getting these inputs from your users, is to just talk to some of your users, sit down with them, run an interview, ask them, what are your problems with the platform? What would you like to see improved? Tell me about the last issue that you had. Talk them through what is difficult with the platform, and you'll get a lot of good inputs. Second thing, questionnaires. Very easy to get started with. Just go into Google Docs, Google Forms, make a form, and send it out to all of your users. You'll probably have to nag them a bit, but eventually you will get a lot of good inputs. This is an example of how it could look like. Get some inputs on what is working and what isn't, and you will usually end up with something like this, a response report. Yes. And this report will tell you two things. It'll tell you what works, what doesn't, but it'll also tell you how things are changing year over year. So you can compare this year with last year, or this quarter with last quarter, and you can see, okay, is our documentation getting better or worse? I have a very concrete example of this. There was one time where we were really not spending a lot of time on our documentation, and we could see from the responses that the satisfaction with our documentation was going down every quarter. And that's because we were not updating it, we were not keeping it recent. So that was a very strong signal from our users that we needed to keep our documentation up to date. Speaking of documentation, your documentation is a product. It's part of your product portfolio. So treat it as such. You need to keep it updated, but also, what are you going to keep updated? One cheat code is add some analytics to your documentation, be them internal or external documentation. You need some analytics. So here you can see some of our pages which are the most visited and which are not. You can also add these kinds of inputs where people can suggest changes to your documentation. All right, so you've got your inputs. Now, how are you going to create good goals? Let me show you in a quick demo. So imagine for a second that you are on my team and we are now sitting in a workshop where we are going to be making our goals for the next period. How would you structure this kind of workshop? I would start by looking at what are the goals of the higher order organization. What is the goals of our organization? So let's say for a second that these are the goals. Let's focus on this one for a second. Enhance customer satisfaction to boost developer engagement. Okay, so we are going to enhance customer satisfaction. Now, that's good input. Let's move into what the users need. So our users, through questionnaires, through user interviews, through Slack messages, have requested a lot of different things. They have, amongst other things, requested that we simplify the way that we set up applications on the platform. And a lot of people want something called Niserator, which is an operator made by another Norwegian company. Interesting. Does that mean that we scrap everything that we have done and just go out and get Niserator or build something equivalent to that? That could be the conclusion here, because that will basically solve these requirements. Not so fast, because these are the qualitative inputs. Let's also look at the quantitative inputs. We have something called self-service. And self-service is essentially what allows us to set up applications on our platform. And we can see from the quantitative answers that while people aren't overjoyed with it, they are quite happy, and no one is particularly dissatisfied. So that means that the conclusion we can draw from this is more likely that we should improve self-service instead of scrapping everything. And that is an example of how we can use these kinds of inputs together as preparation into setting your goals. So now for the final part. Culture. I want to say that there's no cheat code for culture, but there are certainly things that you can do. So what are those things? Well, I want to say start by focusing on research and development and innovation, because you want, as a product team, to become an innovating team. So how can you do that? Well, try out, for example, doing innovation days. What are innovation days? Imagine 1 day a month or 2 days or whatever, your team works on whatever they want, as long as it's beneficial for the company. Sounds crazy. Well, not really, because when people work on whatever they want, usually they'll end up discovering new and interesting ways to solve problems that people in the team have already experienced. It can be solving user needs, it can be making the team more efficient, which again frees up more time for innovation. So try out innovation days, see if it works for you. Another thing you can do in order to improve your innovation culture is something called brown bag breakfasts. What's this? So imagine one morning you buy breakfast at the office for everyone. So everyone comes into the office, they get nice baguettes, juice, everything, have a little bit of a social gathering. And then afterwards, they all sit down and they watch some conference videos. So after those conference videos, everyone will sit down and discuss, what does this mean for the team? How can we adopt these kinds of new things? So this kind of opens people's minds to new ways of working, new things, which helps innovation and it helps break down silos within your product area. So that brings us full circle. That brings us back to, we don't sell a platform, we sell an experience. That's what you do. So you have now gotten some tools to build the experience that people want to have. And so I wish you the best of luck. And thank you very much for listening to my talk.